Yippee-yi-yi, hello, my fellow readers. My name is Greg, and this is Ghost Readers in the Sky. This is Saturday, October 18th, and this is my weekly roundup of what I've been reading. I will start with what I finished reading this week, beginning with Robert Louis Stevenson's novel, The Master of Ballantrae. This is a novel I gave 4.5 stars out of 5. It's the story of two brothers who are fighting their entire lives over land, titles, money, inheritance, women. Master of Ballantrae, the character, is a fantastic anti-hero, as is his brother. It's a good novel. I plan to do a full review later on. The other thing I finished was a short story by Jack London. I dipped into this very large, very thick book of the collected Jack London, and I read Son of the Wolf. I've read a number of short stories by Jack London. I love his writing. I love his settings. I love the way he presents the world. This particular story was not as interesting to me. The characters, the plot. It's about a guy who goes from up in the Yukon, heads south to find a wife. 3.5 stars out of 5. Still a good story. It does not turn me off from Jack London at all. For poetry this week, I posted readings of 3 poems. The first was from Georgie Sicking, Old Tough, great poem about a cattle dog. I found it in this compilation of cowboy poetry. The second, The Walrus and the Carpenter by Lewis Carroll, which is part of Through the Looking Glass, the second of the Alice novels, Through the Looking Glass and What Alice Found There. And finally, from Edward Lear, The Owl and the Pussycat. It did not get censored by YouTube, even though I said the word pussy more than I've ever said before on this channel. Well, for the first time, and then I did it multiple times. The Owl and the Pussycat. What a great poem. I will post links to those readings in the description below. I did post a couple of reviews this past week. One of them was of Anna and Her Daughters by D.E. Stevenson. Book that I did enjoy. D.E. Stevenson, a cousin of Robert Louis Stevenson. Again, I'll post a link to the review. I also did a review of the short story by Robert Louis Stevenson, Thrawn Janet. I have it in this compilation, Novels and Stories. That was a great gothic horror story. Again, I'll post a link to the review below. So what am I reading now? I am diving into H.G. Wells. This is a Barnes & Noble edition of both The Time Machine and The Invisible Man. I'm reading The Invisible Man. I've read The Time Machine before. So I've started The Invisible Man, which is a new story to me by H.G. Wells, and so far, loving it. I added 2 new books to the collection this week, both of them compilations of novels. The first one, some of the novels of Helen McInnes, the great spy, espionage novelist, originally from Scotland. This has 3 novels, Agent in Place, The Hidden Target, and Cloak of Darkness. So I'll probably start with Agent in Place when we get around to that. I may do that as part of Dr. November. I paid $2 for for that compilation of 3 novels. The other book I acquired for my collection is a book that I paid $11 for. $11. It is a compilation. It's from the Everyman Library. These are editions I really do love. Of Muriel Sparks, some of her novels, The Prime of Miss Jean Brodie, The Girls of Slender Means, The Driver's Seat, and The Only Problem. I've read multiple novels by Muriel Sparks, but the only one in this compilation that I've read is The Prime of Miss Jean Brodie, and I think that the next thing I read after The Invisible Man will be The Girls of Slender Means. I haven't read a Muriel Sparks novel in quite some time, and I always enjoy what she writes. Another Scottish writer. Some of her books set in Scotland, some set in England. There may be some set elsewhere. I don't know, I haven't read them. But I'm looking forward to this one. And that really is the wrap-up, the roundup for this week. The books I read, the books I reviewed and posted here on the channel, the poetry that I read, the books that I've acquired and what I'm going to read next, what I'm in the middle of. I think we got the whole kit and caboodle covered there. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you're reading this week. I'm just always curious as to what people are finding interesting, appealing, or they're on the verge of not finishing. Thanks so much to all of you for liking these videos and subscribing and leaving comments. I always appreciate all of that interaction. And until next time, my fellow readers, my name is Greg, and this is Ghost Readers in the Sky. Yippee-yi-oh.